My name is Clara Hayes, and tonight the music in my dining room won't stop lying to me. It's the playlist I made from scraps of my childhood, Ella's Velvet Swing, a guitar from a road trip we never finished. My mother humming in a kitchen that wasn't mine, looping through empty speakers, as if someone is about to laugh, about to pull out a chair, about to say they're proud. I stand at the host stand, staring at the reservation book where I wrote their names in black ink hours ago. Dad, Mom, Ryan, Ellie. 4 neat blocks that look like promises. 4 small squares that have stayed as blank as the tables they were supposed to fill. The lights are low and kind to the room I spent 11 months building with money I didn't have and courage I borrowed against tomorrow. Fresh eucalyptus leans from narrow vases. The linen is so white that my hands look sunburned against it. In the open kitchen, the copper pans hold a shine I've only ever seen in jewelry counters, and the lemon tart I kept tweaking for Ryan's birthday for years waits on the pastry shelf like a bright sun no one has noticed. The past smells like time-roasted garlic and the kind of butter that makes strangers remember you in the morning. I wipe a non-existent fingerprint off the host stand and check my phone again. No new messages. The last thing in our family thread is a thumbs up from Dad that he sent 2 days ago when I texted the address and wrote grand opening Friday at 7. I saved you the corner table. That table is still set for 4. The candles burn like they're being paid by the hour. My manager slips quietly into the kitchen to give me privacy I didn't ask for. I tell myself they're late, that traffic on Lake Shore can swallow a car whole on a Friday night, that the GPS took them the long way, that someone stopped for flowers, because this is the kind of night that deserves petals and crinkly green paper and a card I will pretend to read for the first time when I'm alone. The first 2 parties arrive on time, and I smile like a person who isn't counting the seconds in her ribs. I walk them past the corner table and feel the sting of my own optimism. I pour water. I describe the specials. I say welcome like a chant that might summon my family from the street. When the door opens again, I look up too fast, and the couple who steps in seems startled by my relief. The woman squeezes my arm and says she followed our build out on Instagram and that she knows I'm going to make it. I thank her and taste metal. At 7:20, a server cuts his eyes toward me, then toward the door, then away, like he's put down a glass in the wrong place. I tell him to fire the first round of small plates and keep the pace bright. There is nothing sadder than slow food in a quiet room. At 7:31, my phone buzzes. A notification springs open like a small cruelty. Ryan's girlfriend has posted a story, a backyard strung with Christmas lights in September plastic chairs, a gas grill, a cake, iced with Onward Ryan in smudged blue letters. Mom is in the background sipping something from a red cup while Dad claps offbeat to a song I don't recognize. My thumb hovers over the screen long enough to make the video replay on loop. The song in my dining room turns tinny, like it can hear the one in theirs and knows it's losing. I lock my phone and feel the room tilt. I steady myself against the host stand and notice the handwritten menu cards I made last night, the ones with soft curves that look like care. I pick one up, then put it down, then pick it up again because there's nowhere safe to put my hands. A couple at table 6 asks if we do wine pairings, and I say we do. I bring them glasses that glow like a second set of candles and pretend the warmth on my cheeks is from the kitchen. The corner table is a miniature lighthouse in a storm of absence. I can't bring myself to blow out the candles yet. I keep imagining the squeak of the front door, Dad's voice with that half-apology laugh, Mom's hair sprayed into hope, Ryan teasing me for being dramatic, Ellie explaining they only stopped by the promotion party for a minute because they knew I'd understand. I won't. At 7:50, the phone buzzes again. A text from Dad, short enough to fit inside a sigh. We need to talk about the restaurant. There's no sorry. No, we're on our way. No, we're proud. Just talk like the word could carry a bouquet. I look at the corner table one last time and blow out the candles. The smoke lifts in 2 thin gray threads that braid themselves in the air, then disappear. I walk to the kitchen pass and tell the line to hold the tart. The lemon will keep. I have something else to decide. I closed the restaurant that night later than I should have, dragging chairs onto tables, wiping down linens no one had touched, and pretending the sound of running water in the sink was applause. The playlist was still looping cheerful and cruel. I shut it off mid-verse, and the silence pressed in so heavy it felt like punishment. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like someone chasing a dream. I felt like the punchline of a family joke I had never been in on. The text from Dad stayed lit on my phone. "We need to talk about the restaurant." I almost laughed at how clean the words were, how free of guilt. I left it unanswered, stacked the last napkin, and wrote something short, sharper than the knives behind the line. Effective immediately, the restaurant is closed to family. No reservations, no discounts, no exceptions. I sent it to the family group chat, locked my phone, and walked home through the humid Chicago night with the smell of garlic still in my hair. It was the first time I felt like maybe silence could be armor. The next morning, there was a knock at the back door of the restaurant. I knew who it was before I opened it. Ryan never knocked like a stranger. He pounded like the world owed him answers. When I cracked the door, he stood there in a pressed blazer he didn't need at his marketing job holding a sagging bakery box. He smelled like expensive cologne, fighting to hide last night's smoke. "Figured you'd want a slice," he said, lifting the box like an apology. Inside was the cake from his promotion party. Half-gone letters smudged frosting caved on one side. I stared at it until he tried again. "Come on, Clara. It wasn't that big a deal. Dad said you were still in soft launch mode. Everyone thought you'd understand." The words hit me like ice water. Understand, I had hand-delivered invites. I had texted Mom 3 times. I had baked that tart with Ryan's favorite lemon zest and watched it sit untouched for 5 hours. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me, the metal clanging like a verdict. "You went to his party, Ryan. Not mine. You knew what last night was." He shifted, looking down at the cake. "People got busy." "No." I said, voice low, but sharp. "People got lazy. They thought I'd always be the backup plan. The extra chair they could fill when it was convenient." I took the trash bag I'd been holding and tossed it into the dumpster. It landed louder than I expected, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. "Look," Ryan tried again, his smile tugging like a loose thread. "Dad's actually excited now. He wants to invest. He asked me to talk to you." And there it was. Not guilt, not support, business. Always business. "Tell Dad the restaurant is fully funded," I said. "And the investor bought exclusive rights to my loyalty." Ryan blinked. "What does that even mean?" "It means you're late," I answered, "and I don't do leftovers." I slipped back inside and locked the door. His knuckles grazed the metal, once then silence. For the first time since opening night, I didn't feel like I needed his approval. I didn't feel like I needed any of them. What I needed was distance, and I had finally found the lock that fit. The sign went up the following week. I stood outside with a hammer and a single sheet of white cardstock laminated against the rain, my handwriting looping darker than I intended, reservations only. No walk-ins accepted, even if we share DNA. I nailed it to the front door, the thud echoing down the quiet street like I was building a coffin. For 10 minutes, I just stood there, arms crossed, apron tied tight, daring the city to ask me why. A teenager walking past stopped, read it out loud, and laughed. By noon, a photo of me, with my arms folded beneath that sign, was on 3 local foodie blogs. By evening, it had gone viral. The comments were brutal in their honesty. "This woman is my hero. Boundaries taste better than betrayal. Tell her brother to choke on humble pie." Strangers who didn't know me felt like they did because pain that public becomes communal. My phone buzzed until it felt like a beehive in my pocket. I didn't answer. I stayed busy moving from table to table, pouring wine, explaining dishes I had already memorized in my bones. But every time someone pulled out their phone to take a picture, I wondered if it was me they were capturing, not the food. Not my craft, just my defiance. By the 3rd night, we were fully booked. People canceled other reservations just to sit at my tables. A couple from Georgia told me they had driven 2 hours out of their way because they'd read the sign online and wanted to taste what self-respect cooked like. I smiled, led them to their table, and caught my reflection in the window. I didn't look bitter. I didn't look angry. I looked free. Freedom, of course, comes with a price. On the fifth night, Mom called. 5 times. The voicemail she left was clipped brittle. "Clara, this is childish. We're family. We made a mistake, but this tantrum is making everything worse. Call me back." I played it once, twice, then deleted it. For years, I had thought being useful was the same thing as being loved. Lending my car, my couch, my money, my time. But love doesn't vanish on your biggest night. Love doesn't shrug off your invitations for a barbecue with plastic chairs. Love shows up. I put a new system in place. Locks changed at the restaurant. Locks changed at my apartment. For the first time in forever, my space felt like mine. The staff teased me that I had become a local celebrity, but behind the jokes, I could see their pride. Every plate that left the kitchen carried more than rosemary or thyme. It carried proof that boundaries could be plated and savored. The small climax came one Saturday evening when a pair of women walked in without a reservation, cameras ready, clearly hoping to test me. One of them smiled too wide and said, "But we're cousins. Distant cousins. Doesn't that count?" My chest tightened, but I didn't flinch. "I'm afraid it doesn't," I replied. "Tonight, family has to wait outside." Their laughter rang out brittle as glass, but they left, and the dining room filled with applause from tables that weren't theirs. I felt the heat in my cheeks, not from shame, but from recognition. People weren't clapping for the food anymore. They were clapping for the choice I had finally made. As the room buzzed that night, forks clinking against porcelain, laughter layering over the music, I realized this was the sound I had been waiting for all along. Not my family's approval, not their presence, just the hum of people who wanted to be there. I wiped down the host stand, smoothed the reservation list, and whispered to myself, let them plan whatever they want. I'm already ahead. The attack didn't come with fists or raised voices. It came with stars. 1 star to be exact. The first review appeared on a Tuesday afternoon, written by a name I didn't recognize. Food was cold. Staff was rude. Owners stared at us like we didn't belong. I frowned at the screen because I knew every guest who had walked in that night, and none of them matched the name on the review. The second review came an hour later. Then 4 more, stacked up in less than a day, all with the same phrasing, all dripping with venom that felt manufactured. I sat in the office at the back of the restaurant, my laptop glowing like an interrogation lamp, and felt a knot in my stomach that had nothing to do with hunger. Yelp doesn't know the truth. Customers scrolling for dinner plans don't know the truth. All they see is a pattern: 1 star, 1 star, 1 star. The math of malice is easy to fake. I didn't panic. Not this time. I had already promised myself I wouldn't let them make me small again. I called my lawyer, then pulled up the contact for a journalist I'd once served on a slow Thursday, a woman who wrote for the Chicago Gazette. She had published a glowing piece about my opening menu months earlier. When she answered, I didn't waste time. Someone's targeting me, I said. And I think it's my family. By morning, the article was live behind the apron strings. How a rising chef fought back against family sabotage. The piece didn't dramatize. It documented. Screenshots of the reviews side by side, time-stamped inconsistencies, even a quote from one of my servers who swore my father had been in the restaurant last week, muttering about buying out the lease if she doesn't come to her senses. The backlash against them was instant. The comments section swarmed with disbelief and rage. Imagine being this threatened by your daughter's success. Families like this create warriors. She's not the black sheep, she's the phoenix. I read the words quietly in my office while the kitchen fired its first orders of the night, and for once, I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight alone. That evening, a woman walked in alone, sat at table 7, and asked for nothing but water. When I approached, she leaned forward and whispered, "They tried to break you, but I came here to tip you for standing up." She slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a check for $1,000. My throat closed. I excused myself to the walk-in fridge and let the cold bite at my skin while tears stung my eyes. Not weakness, release. The world had seen what they did, and for once, the world chose me. Of course, the family didn't disappear. Ryan texted me that night, "They're planning something. Be careful." His words should have comforted me, but instead they confirmed what I already knew. He wasn't warning me out of love, only guilt. Still, the restaurant thrived. Every night, laughter replaced silence. Every plate that left the pass was a declaration that I wasn't going anywhere. The small climax of this part came when I stepped outside after service and found a group of customers waiting in the cool night just to tell me, "We believe you." No order, no table, no need for proof, just belief. I locked up, pulled the door tight, and thought about the reviews, the article, the strangers clapping in my dining room. For years, my family's opinion had been the only measure of my worth. Now their one-star attacks couldn't compete with the five-star freedom beating steady in my chest. Her knock came after closing soft enough that I almost ignored it. I was wiping down the last table by the window, apron dusted with flour, when I saw her standing outside in the dark. Madeline, Ryan's fiancée, looked smaller without the armor of makeup and curated smiles. She held her phone like it was a confession. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice trembling. "Just for a minute." Every instinct told me to say no. Family by extension was still family, and I had burned that bridge already. But something in her eyes, a guilt that looked too heavy for her frame, kept me still. I unlocked the door. She slid into the last booth, clutching a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. I didn't know she whispered. I didn't know how far they were willing to go. I sat across from her, arms folded. Silence had become my weapon, and I wasn't ready to put it down. She filled the space nervously, glancing at her phone like it might explode. "There's a group chat. Your mom, your dad Ryan, even your Aunt Linda. They called it Operation Reset." The words landed like glass shattering. She scrolled quickly and turned the screen toward me. Messages lit the dark booth. "She's too full of herself. Pull her supplier discounts. Make her beg to come back. Spread reviews until she cracks." Dates, names, even voice notes attached. Evidence so complete it didn't need translation. I stayed calm, but inside, something shifted. I had suspected sabotage. Now I could smell its ink. "Why are you telling me this?" My voice was low, sharp. Madeline's face flushed with shame. "Because they dragged me into it. Because I don't want to marry someone who treats his sister like this." She swallowed hard, slid the phone across the table. "If you want to go public, you have my blessing." I looked down at the proof glowing between us. For once, revenge wasn't about volume. It was about timing. And timing was on my side. I slid the phone back toward her. "Thank you," I said softly. "You just gave me everything I need." She nodded, stood slowly, and left without finishing her coffee. The door clicked shut, and I knew the next move wasn't mine. 2 days later, the headlines exploded at 9:12 a.m. Chef Clara Hayes' family caught plotting to sabotage her career. Leaked messages. Confirm. I hadn't spoken to a single journalist. I didn't need to. Madeline had leaked the entire chat herself, posting screenshots with a single caption, "I won't be marrying into this family." The internet devoured it. Names, dates, accusations laid bare for the world. The backlash was vicious and immediate. Hashtags spread, #stand with Clara. People who had stayed silent before, old classmates, co-workers, even neighbors poured into the comments. She was always the one carrying them. They used her until she had nothing left. This is why she shines. By noon, my reservation list stretched 6 weeks out. At 2 p.m., my landlord called to extend my lease, 5 years rent, locked. "You're the pride of this block," he said. At 3:17, Ryan texted, "I didn't know Mom saved those messages." "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. That night, during service, a reporter from the Food Chronicle came in wearing a navy blazer and red lipstick. She ordered nothing, only introduced herself. "We're doing a feature 10 chefs who survived the fire. You're our cover." I blinked, stunned, but she only smiled. "You're not just a chef, Clara. You're a revolution." I finished the night barefoot in the empty dining room, glass of wine in hand, the air finally clean. For once, silence wasn't loneliness. It was freedom echoing in the rafters. Exactly 1 year later, an envelope slid under my apartment door, heavy with gold foil and scripted letters. You are cordially invited to the engagement brunch of Ryan Hayes and Madeline Ross. I laughed out loud, the sound sharp in the quiet room. The same family who once left me standing alone in a candlelit dining room now wanted me in their photographs. They didn't want me. They wanted my silence dressed as forgiveness. I didn't RSVP. Instead, I opened my laptop and finalized a deal I had been shaping for months. My second location, Clara's Table, would open downtown in a brick building with exposed beams and a rooftop garden. The kitchen was twice the size of the first, built for more than just food. It was built for people like me, culinary students with no connections, single parents clawing back their confidence, quiet dreamers who only needed someone to say yes. The ribbon cutting drew a crowd. Reporters, locals, customers who had stood with me when the reviews were poison and the headlines unkind. The same journalist who first told my story pushed a mic toward me. "What would you say to your family now?" she asked. I smiled, slow and certain. Nothing. That word hung in the air heavier than any speech. They had asked for explanations, apologies, second chances. But accountability doesn't come dressed as begging, and I had nothing left to prove. Later that evening, after the cameras left and the dining room buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, I slipped into the new kitchen. Flour dusted my apron, dough stuck to my palms, and my staff worked around me with a rhythm that felt like home. That's when a woman walked in, hesitant, holding her daughter's hand. "I saw your story," she said. "My little girl wants to be a chef, but she's scared she'll never be good enough." I wiped my hands, crouched down, and handed the girl a menu, the paper still warm from the printer. "Tell her this," I said gently. They said the same thing to me. The girl's eyes widened, and in that moment, I knew the story wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about legacy, the kind you build when you finally choose yourself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy these family drama and revenge stories, please subscribe and join me for more every day.